Hey, welcome everyone. Actually, I just joined Twitch, so this is also streaming on Twitch right now, so we'll see how that goes. We're going to be looking into a video with Eckart Tolle. I love Eckhart Tolle. It's not much to look at, but his voice is so soothing, and a lot of things that he talks about, I has definitely helped me look at things in a different way and helped me process things differently. Um, so his outlook and his perception is really interesting, and just how he talks, y'all. You'll listen. He commands your attention and your focus, and he's just so calming. So the topic we're going to get into is excessive thinking. This gentleman, he was questioning him about like how he is hearing like all these teachings, and then a lot of times it's overwhelming because like he'll start thinking about one thing and then he's like over analyzing it and thinking about something else. And that's one thing when you're on this journey of enlightenment and higher consciousness, and you're pulling from a lot of different things. You're over analyzing yourself, you're over analyzing the world, you're over analyzing what other people say, and trying to find reasons and solutions. And it can be a lot, but what's interesting, everything that when you're in the enlightenment realm, the main thing is to always be present. This is what, no matter whose philosophy you're taking from, everyone is always about staying present. So, this guy is asking him this question about that. And what's interesting is Eckhart is reminding him how our thought is excessive thinking is an addiction. Like drinking and smoking, it's addiction. Like people who excessively overanalyze and go down this rabbit hole with stuff, it's like they can't control themselves. They start thinking one thought and then it goes into something else, and then they're thinking about something else, and then it gets real deep, and it literally goes from something so simple to something really dark sometimes, or completely off the wall. So, and another thing that he speaks about is something that I came into the realization this year after I read Untethered Soul, was that really our thoughts are pseudo selves. So we're thinking that our thoughts are us, when in actuality, they are not. Our thoughts are pretty much projections of our past experiences or things that we have witnessed. Is actually not us, the things that we're hearing in our minds. The only way we know our true essence of self, it comes from a place of silence and peace. And you allow these thoughts to go through. But we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that. We're going to start this video where he's going to tell us how to stop excessive thinking.
The state of not thinking, which can be arrived at by various ways, as you probably know. If you don't think about it, just do it. Becoming more aware of the present moment and accept it as it is slows down the overactive mind is one thing. Because a lot of the overactivity of the mind is an attempt to get away from the isness, the simplicity of the present moment.
I want to focus on that statement right there. A lot of overthinking comes from trying to avoid the simplicity of the present moment. Think about that for a second, right? So an easiest example of this for me is like if you just meet someone and you go on a date and the date's okay, but then you start thinking about after the date, oh, things he didn't say or how he said things or what this person did, and you start going down this rabbit hole instead of, was the date good? Did you have fun? Focus on that present moment. Don't go down the rabbit hole. But a lot of times we want to go down that rabbit hole because it becomes a way of self protection, right? Because you want to be prepared for if this person is crazy or you don't want to get hurt. Instead of just staying in the moment with zero expectations. If it was a good date, let it be a good date and leave it where it is.
Well, first of all, use the present moment to become, but how do you become conscious of the present moment? Now, when you get it, after a while, you can actually sense the presence of the present, so to speak, directly, and there it is. But helpful things are sense perceptions, take you out of thinking. If you're not judging the sense perceptions, labeling, naming, looking around, anywhere, wherever you are, look around. Practice sense perceptions without this compulsive interference of naming what you're perceiving. Oh, that's a beautiful flower. I wonder what it's called. I don't know what it's called, so that helps. I can be free of thinking. If I know what it's called, I can say, oh, that's such, and then drop that. And see what it means to perceive without the interference of concepts, words.
So another way to do this, actually my therapist introduced this to me because I was having anxiety. One reasons why we get anxiety or panic attack comes from overthinking. So you can do it this way where he's like focus on different things in the room, to be present. Oh, that's a tree. That's a brown chair with 4 legs. But I kind of prefer what my therapist was telling me to do to come out of excessive thinking, overthinking, is to focus on your senses. So, like, she was telling me to start off with your touch. Like, what are you touching? Recognize, like, right now, I'm touching my leg, feel my jeans, think about the texture of the jeans, like, focus on that. Focus on your smell. What are you smelling right now? I just made pasta, so I'm smelling my dinner. It smells mighty tasty that I'm gonna be eating. Focus on taste. Like, what are you tasting right now? And it forces you to be present in the moment. You're no longer thinking all these random thoughts that you were thinking before. You're in the moment. You're focusing. You start to relax. And then actually those thoughts start to go away. You're no longer obsessing or thinking about going down that rabbit hole that you were before. You actually start thinking about something completely different, to be honest with you. And I haven't really think it at all.
But you can't talk about that. It's underlying. But a sign that it's working is that while you listen, there's no thought. There's just an alert presence. And when the so-called teacher stops speaking for a moment, the alert presence remains. It does not need to be filled with anything. Like now. What is there to think about? Nothing. Now, if we do this for longer, at some point, your mind will probably start up and think, how much longer is he going to sit there? And when that happens, you can allow your mind to say, how much longer is he going to sit there and say nothing, and then come back to presence. And then some other thought will come. what's this all about? And then you can allow that thought to rise and then be present again, which means you're not really, your priority is no longer to follow the thought where it wants to take you, because the thought has a magnetic pull. It wants more of your consciousness, but it wants to grow because it's a little entity. It wants to grow, so it wants your attention. And in subtle ways, it tries to get your attention. It says, it might even use a bodily feeling. It says, God, I'm hungry suddenly. Why didn't I need to eat something? And then you think of what restaurant am I going to afterwards? And so the presence is gone. You are gone. You are looking for a restaurant in your mind.
That's a really good example of that. As far as what he was saying about, because if you notice as he was talking, you were so focused on what he was saying, you weren't even thinking of other thoughts, especially when he's just stopped and paused. You're so present in the moment and waiting to hear what he's going to say next. Because he says, as an example of a good spiritual teacher, if they can, when they talk, you're hanging on their every word and you're staying present and you're not thinking about anything else, that's a good spiritual teacher. And then as far as, I love that he says that the thought is an entity within itself. Like I said earlier in this video, this is something I learned this year, how our thoughts are not us. And I was actually talking to my close friend Carla about this, a technique for separating yourself from your thoughts that I learned from Michael Singer is seeing that thought as its own person. And when you do that, that thought will literally say one thing and then change his mind to another thing and then go back to another and then think another way. Like it don't even know what it's talking about. Your thoughts don't even know what it's talking about. It's just random shit going through your head, right? So when he talks about your thoughts being its own entity that wants attention, it's like it's pulling you in and wants you to give it water to grow and take you down this rabbit hole of excessive thinking and anxiety and all this other stuff. But what you have to do is, and I actually like the graciousness that he's teaching to give yourself. So when you're trying to be present, but then your mind kind of starts to wander a little bit, let that thought pass through and then let it go. So for me, this video is like so spot on right now because right now I'm trying to restructure my business and definitely doing a lot of overthinking right now. And with that, I'm constantly questioning myself and going down this rabbit hole of, oh my God, what if this doesn't work or if it's a complete failure? And I have to keep bringing myself back, going back to present. And it's literally like I'll start thinking of designs, like, or recently a niche. I have to pick a niche, right? So I'm thinking about the niche, and then I'm going into what this niche isn't actually as big as I think it is. And then what if this niche actually are people that don't really buy this kind of stuff? And then what if it just keeps going, right? Instead of, I was supposed to be focused on my niche and then go into designs. That's a whole nother thing, but you have to stay focused. Another good example that I see a lot that happens is when people start dating. I don't know how it is for men, my male friends. Well, no, I can't say that. They do think about the future. They're thinking about fucking. My female friends, when they meet someone or even when they start talking to someone, they're thinking long term, marriage, children, like the first time they're meeting someone, right? And I feel like with dating, get to know the person, be present who they are. And this is where it's very important when you're present with who they are at that present moment, you won't talk yourself out of things or overthink things. If you notice something that happens when you first meet them, don't talk yourself. If it's something negative, don't talk yourself out of that situation. Be present in it, recognize what it was, and accept it. So that's one way you can stay present. Or if it's something positive, you having amazing conversations. It was, you guys are talking on a regular basis. It seems like there's a connection. Don't be over anxious and start thinking about the future. Enjoy the time that's happening with that person. And if it's the right person, it'll progress, it'll grow, it'll morph into what it should be, right? So all different kind of ways we can overthink stuff. We're constantly overthinking about a lot of things, and it creates anxiety and it creates depression and a whole slew of things. So um, definitely stay present, focus on if you recognize what is happening and take it back, take a step back, start pointing out things that are happening in that present moment to reel yourself back. And magic, you stop thinking those, you stop going down that rabbit hole. Trust me, it works. So for you guys that think too much, try these methods. Let me know how it goes for you. Or if you need a little bit more feedback on the situation, let me know and I'll help you walk you through it. All right. Bye.